From the roots up. CIUT 89.5 FM. Toronto.
Hey everyone, it's Vanessa from the African Student Association at UTSC, also from Zambia in Ghana, and you're listening to Tracks from Abroad on CIUT 89.5 FM.
Curated by the people, for the people. CIUT 89.5 FM is the sound of your city.
Mwapoleni mkwai ni Nebo Mabo from Tracks from Abroad pa CIUT 89.5 FM. Chungulo pa mkwai.
Hello, Toronto, and welcome to Tracks from Abroad, on CIUT 89.5 FM. My name is Jesse McDougall. If you're just joining our show for the very first time, this is a show where we interview students at the University of Toronto that come from diverse backgrounds, that come from all over the world. And today is the 64th episode of our show. We're visiting Zambia. To do so, we have some fantastic guests, and you just heard them too. And I love doing little taglines in my interview. So I'll say, can you say you are listening to Tracks from Abroad, but say it in your native language. So I think what we just heard was Lozi, the Lozi language from Zambia. We're going to talk a lot more today about the languages, the culture, the food of Zambia. And I want to introduce our guest, which is Vanessa. She is part of the University of Toronto African Students Association at Scarborough. You can find them at UTSCASA or UTSCASA on Instagram. What a friendly group of people coming from backgrounds all over Africa, but throughout the diaspora as well. And Vanessa was kind enough to bring to the studio not only herself, her brother, Brendan, and her mother, Mabel. And so we had different generations talking about Zambia, the importance of Zambia, and not to mention, Vanessa's going to talk about her 2019 trip where she went to Zambia for the first time to meet her extended family. It's a really great interview, and we're going to start it just in a second here. I also want to announce that a lot of the music played on this show was selected by Karibuni, a show on CIUT, been around probably longer than I've been alive. And Karibuni plays African music. They have some cultural sounds, and they help me select a lot of this music, which I'm very appreciative for. You can hear their show Sundays from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on CIUT 89.5, hosted, of course, by Nadine and Tierno. And also, behind me in the studio, we have Akshita and Rosa. They are volunteers of Tracks from Abroad. I want to acknowledge them, and we're having a lot of fun over here. And I also want to acknowledge some of the other shows on Africa that Tracks from Abroad has done in the past. We have done Ghana. We have done Nigeria twice. We have done Morocco and Egypt. And Botswana was fantastic. So if you want to go and listen back to those previous episodes, you can just search Tracks from Abroad on Google, and they'll come right up. And not to forget Niger, which was a terrific episode where we spoke to one of the largest artists from that country, Mdou Mokhtar, for an interview right here on Tracks from Abroad. The last thing I'm going to say is that we are giving away 2 tickets to see Kuné, Canada's global orchestra, performing at Lula Lounge on April 5th. They have previously come on the show, Matthias Richarte, the drummer for the band. So again, 2 free tickets coming on the giveaway to see Kuné, and they're also giving away a CD, their most recent release, Universal Echoes, and that's going to be a heck of a show. You can follow us at tfa.radio on Instagram, and that's where you're going to sign up for that giveaway. That's tfa.radio on Instagram. All right, next up, we are getting into our first part of the interview with Vanessa of the University of Toronto African Students Association at Scarborough. Thank you very much for listening to Tracks from Abroad on CIUT 89.5 FM. Hello and welcome to Tracks from Abroad on CIUT 89.5 FM. My name is Jesse McDougall. We have got some really exciting folks in the building today. We are going to be talking about Zambia, and in fact, this is the largest group that we've ever had. So we're going to start on this side of the table, and everybody introduce themselves so listeners know which voice to go with, etc., which name. So go ahead.
Hello, my name's Vanessa. Nice to meet you all.
Hello, and my name is Mabel, and I'm very excited to be here.
And I'm the son, Brendan. Nice to meet you all. Please excuse my voice. I teach kids, so I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I basically project my voice for like 4 hours straight every day. Yeah, so
that's super interesting. Okay,
yeah.
And let's get down to the basics. We'll start with the basics. So Vanessa, you are the one who I contacted first. You're part of, You're a student at U of T. So tell us about what you do at U of T.
So I'm actually at the Scarborough campus and a part of the African Students Association. So Jesse reached out to us and was interested about doing pretty much like an interview about the African Student Association. Mm-hmm. And when he just came into our weekly meeting and just talked about himself, what he does, I was just really interested about Tracks from Abroad. I'm like, okay. So I asked him, have you ever done an episode on Zambia? Because I'm half Ghanaian, half Zambian. He's like, no, but that would be interesting. I was like, okay. So I asked if I could bring my mom. He was like, oh, that'd be very interesting because he's never done a family episode.
This is
I'm
true.
like, all right. So I told my mom about it. And then I also told my brother because I know he loves to talk a lot. He has a lot to say. So I'm like, okay, this is great. Like, why not?
And let's also talk just briefly about what the African Students Association does. I went to one of your parties. Tried
You
to.
did.
I did.
It was.
I met a lot of interesting folks, and so what sort of events do you guys do, and what's your role in the club?
So I'm a part of the marketing and media team, and so we do academic events and we do like social events as well. So as you said, you went to the parties.
Yeah.
So the party was one. Not only like African students, Black students, people interested about Africa, Black people as well, and just
Certainly.
engaging the
So this is
community.
to say that there's lots of clubs on U of T's campus that are trying to get students from abroad and students with ties to other countries really involved.
For sure.
But I want to ask you, Vanessa, I did go to this party. It was themed as the 2000s.
Yes.
It was on College Street, so I show up there looking as I look. And the fact is, everybody comes from very different backgrounds. You may come from the continent of Africa, or you may be second or third generation, what have you. What is there that brings you all together? What does it feel like to be part of that big group?
Like just being African and knowing that we're all one people, we're all brothers and sisters. Like it's just, we feel like we have to stick together, and that's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I was just going to add to what Vanessa was saying. When you get a group of people from the diaspora come together, that reminds them of home, because at home we practice togetherness. And there's different versions of how to say that, right? Ubuntu, togetherness, right? Even as neighbors, we look out for each other. I'm talking about back in Zambia.
Yeah.
Right? We always look out for each other. So that community, that bonding is very important. And if there's any issues going on, you're going through a hardship, they'll come out to help you, right? There's always that support system.
And it's not even just like Africans. Like everybody was there. It didn't matter who you were.
Right.
We're all just there to have a good time.
Heck, I was there.
I know. Like
Somebody
I
said,
was-
my friend Ramsey from Egypt was all dressed up as the 2000s, and I came in and he said, "Oh, Jesse, nice costume. You look like a youth pastor or a youth preacher." And I was like, "Man, that is not what I was going for
I love
whatsoever." But it is what it is.
That's my dog.
Do you know Ramsey, by the way?
Yeah, he's in ASA.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
everybody's part of the club.
Of course.
To Mabel, I'd like to ask you about growing up in Zambia. Tell us your story about how you ended up in Canada.
I'm not going to tell you which year I was born. I'll skip that one. But I was born in Zambia. I was educated in Zambia. I did my elementary and high school in Zambia. It was just fun growing up in Zambia. I had the most lovely parents, siblings, and I had friends. I was so much into sports. Like I was very athletic when I was younger. I used to compete in swimming and I enjoyed swimming a lot. And where we lived, actually, there was an Olympic swimming pool, which was open really late.
Wow.
So I would be there with my friends, up to midnight. Sometimes they'll close it at midnight. We're just swimming away. And when I was 18 years old, I left Zambia to go live in England. I was studying there. Then I got married. We applied to work for the Botswana government. And I was in agriculture. So I was working for the Ministry of Agriculture. And then 1995, we actually emigrated to Canada. And this is where we've been since then. So
Where else have you been in the continent?
So we lived in Botswana. I've been to South Africa. I've been to DRC. I've been to Botswana, but now I think if they change the name, it's part of South Africa.
Okay.
Ghana. How can I forget Ghana? Of course, I've been to Ghana as well, yeah. So I enjoy traveling.
I think I should really apply to have a 2-hour-long show. It would save me a lot of editing because we're covering so many interesting things. But I want to take it to Brendan, who hasn't talked yet. Sure. And Brendan, I wonder if you could suggest a song for us to play, because on every show of Tracks from Abroad, we have our guests, suggest some of their favorite music from the country. Today, we're doing some Zambian music. So why don't you give us a song that you'd like us to play, and then tell us why you picked it.
Let's start with the lit one, a very upbeat one.
Good.
The one that you recommended, Vanessa. It's called Piki Piki Skirt by Afanika.
I think I first heard it when I was in Zambia. The traditional Zambian songs, I guess you could say, the genre is Kalindula. And that song kind of mimics it. Like, it feels so back home. Like, I just love that song. Even though, it kind of has a silly meaning, but that's how the songs were back then. They all had a silly meaning.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to play that song right here on Tracks from Abroad. Today we're talking about Zambia, and I hope you'll stay with us after the break.
Lole samona banovya babena ikele fesi Mushawe wasike chichishi tekani nefi Lole samona banovya babena ikele fe tondolo Siketi yobeni Siketi yobeni Kanji pusa vyola mona pati mutima ile tete wikare Mami filtuna mona pari wa fistu mafeka feka fe Wampelo mutende gana mona kunu mafeka kweka fe No mutima wandi wanse kongana mona kwenda kweka fe Niwe singa ngawa mutima hawa gambi vale iwe pa fe Oh mami kose wala ya Nala kukoka peka fe Boka mona kaulenda Morena weba kwati kusana Musa wasikati sisi tekani nefi Lole samona banovya babena ikele fesi Musa wasikati sisi tekani nefi Lole samona banovya babena ikele fesi If you want it up, I want to do me kuno makwati kwa bateza. Kweno yu mufulo. Ngole sana iwe kwati pe mufulo. Hawa kwenda wa mwene wewo pa kuipa ndombolo. If you let it soko kunuma hawa ni ndombolo. Wanome mosa masiketi ya lipe tondolo. Mushe chisi chuati leteka na kunuma kuliwemo. Lole samona banovya bobena ikele fesi lililili Kwele siketi chisi tekani nefi Lole samona banovya bobena ikele fe tondolo Hey! Aluka! Toleka! Abese karo keto nyata Epaluka! Yeti yobeni Apaluka! Ale bese karo keto nyata
I'm Drew Gonzalez from Kobotown, and you're listening to Tracks from Abroad on CIUT 89.5 FM.
Ambichana, yes. One is feeling lower, feeling less. Know that when you looking here, you looking at the best. Grace, I must speak, I confess. Honey, I was only humble from the stress. How you talking to me? You say, I know that I'm blessed. They say who they, I don't hear the rest. The most high, the main source, God bless. I be singing in the streets on the chorus with my chest, sing it. Pa pa pa, pa pa pa. Etu kalila, get down. Shy to the
taking over your radio station. Hey. Diddy ba 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 ba. Hey. You see it. Put your song over tea like tea. We are fine. We are good indeed. Diddy ba ba. Moshe, till it bien. Temperature laka, I'm feeling like a butter. I'm just cutting. Till it up. Hey, dear.
Welcome back to Tracks from Abroad on CIUT 89.5 FM.
We back.
My name is Jesse McDougall. We're in the studio with all kinds of amazing people. We have Vanessa, Mabel, and Brendan, as well as a special guest who we'll get to in a moment. But Brendan, you brought up the subject of languages, of which there's so many different dialects. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, of course. So there are 73 dialects in Zambia. To name a few, there's Bemba, Nyanja, Lozi, Tonga, and a couple more. Do you want to say a couple more?
Luvale, Kaonde, Tumbuka.
Most of what my mother speaks is Bemba, because she is part of the northern provinces. My ancestors, my mother's ancestors, you can say originally were from the Congo area, namely the Lula Lounge kingdoms, which were present in around the 14th, 13th century, starting there. And then a migration happened south, which is now modern-day Zambia. And linguistically, you can make the connection to the Lula Lounge languages and the current-day Bemba languages.
And so you said that Mabel sometimes says certain things around the house that are in these dialects. What's an example of what you'd say?
Ichongo. Shh, keep quiet.
Oh, keep quiet. Okay.
Finshule foya. What do you want? Isakuno.
I'll just pick up the phone and be like, Mulashani. And that's basically our greeting. And then the next person would say, Wino, which means I'm doing good.
Well, coming into this interview, there was only one piece of Zambian language that I knew. I don't know which one it's from, but I knew Mosi Otunya.
Okay.
That's from the Lozi.
That's from the Lozi language.
Yeah, that's
And
Lozi.
the reason that I know this is thanks to our special guest, my dad. And so you traveled to Mosi Otunya. Why don't you tell us what this is?
Mosi Otunya means smoke that thunders, and I believe it was the local term for Victoria Falls, where the Zambezi River begins, and it's an incredible geologic formation. And I had the pleasure of seeing it and actually experiencing it because I kayaked from there down Zambezi River at floodwater, which was pretty memorable. In 1991, I spent about 3.5 months traveling through 8 countries in Africa. And if you have not been through Africa, you should go.
Yes.
People, the cultures, the geography, it's just a fantastic continent. And I had the pleasure of traveling through Zambia. I took a boat the length of Lake Tanganyika and went to Mupulungu, and then took a 9.5-hour truck, because that's often, at least in those days, how you traveled. It was called a matatu. So anyone who wanted to jump on and pay a little bit of money.
Yeah.
We were in the back of this truck with about 20 people, eating mangoes and bananas and throwing the peels as we drove across Zambia to Chipata. And then eventually went to Lusaka, and finally to Victoria Falls near Livingstone. But it was an interesting time because 2 weeks after I had arrived, President Kenneth Kaunda, who had been the somewhat authoritarian leader for 27 years, was basically deposed. And then Frederick Chilumba was elected. And the whole country was so excited about this change. And traveling across the country in the back of trucks, everyone was showing the L sign, which was the sign of the party they had won. And just a little story about how things changed quickly. I was on a bus in Lusaka, getting ready to leave to go to Livingstone. And the bus was completely full, and it was about 90 degrees. And the bus sat there for an hour. We were wondering, why aren't we going? And finally, a bus inspector in a uniform came onto the bus, and we started going the wrong direction. And it turns out that he had commanded that the bus wait for him so the bus could drive him home.
Oh my God.
Now, in the days of Kenneth Kaunda, if you had complained about that, you probably would have been put in jail. But as the man was walking to his home from the bus, one of the brave bus passengers opened the window and shouted at him. And then within about 10 seconds, the entire bus was heckling him and shouting at him. He was so surprised because this had never happened to him. And you could see democracy changing the mindsets of the people.
Yeah. So did you swim in the Devil's Pool?
I tried not to swim. I was in a kayak. I had been a whitewater guide, and the last thing I wanted to do was swim. I had been told there were a few crocodiles around, so I thought I would stay out of the water.
You're just waiting to pounce on somebody.
I'm learning too.
And the
So
hippo.
what is the Devil's Pool?
So the Devil's Pool it's a rock formation, right? Pretty close to the Victoria Falls. So we have these daredevils that actually go, there's water in there, and they sit in the water, which is falling off the cliff. Like
It's at the edge of the falls.
Oh,
So
wow.
I pulled up a photo for folks to see in the studio. But would anybody do that in this room?
Oh, yeah.
No way, I would.
I would.
Vanessa would.
You
Love
only
it.
live once. What did Drake say? Yeah.
No, I would do that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of places around the world where people say, oh, you should go. And then when you get there, sometimes it's like, that wasn't very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victoria Falls, you should go. It is absolutely incredible.
Well, I like that segment very much. I think I learned a lot personally. And we're going to take a music break right here on Tracks from Abroad. You're listening to CIUT 89.5 FM. We're going to be back in just a second to talk more about Zambia.
Mwanalume wayaka naye mwanakazi wayaka spouse battering iyo wali hapa abusha chimbilimbili niwani pakuti monse mwayaka inkondo lero yambekane atalamulire niwani inkondo lero yakala plakaga atalesherere niwani mwenjetani motoka yotoka samuyenja muri peregede asunge banja niwani
Hello, everyone. My name is Brendan from Toronto. You're tuned in on CIUT 89.5.
Tulingunisha milomo mayo wali kungeba tulingunisha milomo kae kuli chimuni wenu tulingunisha milomo kae kuli chimuni wenu tulingunisha milomo chimuni ya sangulo musha tulingunisha milomo chimuni ya sangulo musha tulingunisha milomo mayo chimuni wa shikula chimuni wa chitila mwana chilinde bala mayo chimuni wa shikula chimuni wa chitila mwana chilinde bala mayo chimuni wa shikula chimuni wa chitila mwana chilinde bala tondolo tufwe fyo bakotwamba tondolo tufwe fyo bale tusekenda itata watu ebele fwebene nokosenge ko abakuwa matanga kanafu okulunga makuwa matanga teko kuno tuwaisa kuba batumwa kubati teko kulima yosenge ananejalo bapata abantu bamuwera kukoko mayo aliranile ulyoko bakita bana babonga basungu mwaya kuchula mwempumba mukowa ulyoko babika bana bamapa chambaso bali bufye mwempumba mukowa nigwila welufio fya muno chala mayo elele wekoni kaleta mashamo wekoni kaleta mashamo wekalufio wekoni kaleta mashamo yangu wakakonie wekoni kabikula malanda yangu wakakonie wekoni kabikula malanda nobeni ninilio wekoni katanda matua kibechoba peshilia wekoni katanda matua obaeshi angome wekoni katanda matua atwale kulitata wekoni katanda matua walala tata kuna lemba wekoni katanda matua tondolo tufwe fyo bakotwamba tondolo tufwe fyo bale tusekenda itata watu ebele fwebene nokosengeko abakuwa matanda kanafu okulunga makuwa matanda teko kuno tuwaisa kuba batumwa kubati teko kulima yosenge ananejalo bapata abantu bamuwena kukoko mayo aliranile ulyoko bakita bana babonga basungu mwaya kuchula mwempumba mukowa ulyoko babika bana babopa chambaso bali bufye mwempumba mukowa bikwila welufio fya muno chalo mayo elele wekoni kaleta machamo wekoni kaleta machamo wekalufio wekoni kaleta machamo yangu wakakonie wekoni kabikula malanda wakakonie wekoni kabikula malanda nobeni ninilio wekoni katanta matua kibechoba peshilia wekoni katanta matua obaeshi angobe wekoni katanta matua atwale kulitatale wekoni katanta matua walala tata kulalemba wekoni katanta matua
Welcome back to Tracks from Abroad. Today we are talking all about Zambia. We're together in the studio with the whole family. And Mabel, you are the matriarch. You just suggested a great song for us, which played at the end of the set, Zambian music. Tell us about that track.
That track is by our favorite PK Chishala, the best musician when it comes to folklore music, right? Everything we do involves drums. If there's a bridal shower, if there's a wedding, there'll be drumming going on. The drummers are there, and so the young lady has to cook this little pot of shima, and it's traditional. Like, you start off with your hands behind you. They give you a wooden spoon in your mouth, and you have to start using the wooden spoon, and eventually, they let you use your hands. But very, very beautiful. It's beautiful to attend. So once all that is cooked, then the groom's family will come over to the house, and they'll eat the food, which means now he's welcome.
And elders in general are held in very, very high esteem in Zambian society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, respect is a big thing in Zambia. We respect our elders a lot.
Like, for example, you're serving them food. This is common in like any African culture, really, but like, you're serving them food, you can't be above their height. So you have to like go on your knees, pretty much like bend your knees, serve them the food.
Including when you're greeting an elder, right?
Yes.
They're sitting down. You can't come up and just standing and greet. No, you got to go down on your knees and then greet them.
Now, Vanessa, I understand you took a very significant trip a few years ago in 2019, going to Zambia for the very first time. Tell us about how that impacted you and what you saw there, what you did.
This was like going into like my grade 12 year, I guess. So I skipped a little bit of school, but it was worth it. And so when we first got off the plane, like, when the air in a different country smells different, like it feels different. Like, I felt so welcomed, and seeing people that looked like me, there's a whole bunch of Black people going around, and it's like, wow, okay, like, this is home. Everybody's speaking Bemba. And then seeing my aunt for the first time, seeing like a whole bunch of family members for the first time, seeing you in person, seeing you there, and even seeing my grandmother, like, shout out to her. She's like 6 foot something tall. Like, she's a giant. And I'm like, I don't recall seeing this on your Facebook profile.
Yeah.
But it's just that family sense, and then the cultural difference, because obviously in Ontario we live in, quite a nice home. We have like anything we want, grocery stores right there. You will not see a McDonald's. You will not see like half of the things here. Like, we gotta travel for a grocery store, and staying at a farm, it was very different. And even the first night, I remember this, me and my mom, like, we slept in the same room. And there was a lizard in that bedroom. And she was screaming, cackling on the top of her lungs. She did not want to sleep in that room because that lizard was so fast. Like, it went under the pillow. I don't even know where it went, but it just disappeared. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I could do it. I could sleep here. And my mom was like, no, we're leaving. And so we ended up in a different room.
I actually wanted to ask Duncan, like, what type of animals did you see? Like, you go to the safari zoo?
Sure. When I didn't see any when I was in Zambia, but when I was in Kenya, I happened to meet someone who was a Peace Corps worker, and he lived in a very remote village called Mashuru. Wow. So it took me about a day and a half to get out there. It was a Maasai village, and they roasted a goat in my honor.
Oh, wow.
And then after a couple of days, a couple of his students said, let's go for a trip. And all of the animals were around us, the giraffe and everything else. We just walked amongst them. It wasn't a safari. It was just walking amongst the animals. It was really quite something.
Did you encounter the lions as well?
Fortunately, not on that walk.
Duncan, did you go to any markets in Lusaka? There's one called Kabwata.
Just one, yep.
So at Kabwata Market, there's everything there, right? So they killed a goat in my honor too, speaking of which. So we had like a family reunion where a lot of people came, including her grandmother, the giant.
And even just like random people from surrounding communities.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I love. Like, the love that we got, even though they don't know us, we don't know them. Like, they walked from who knows how far. and just came over just to, you know, kind of greet us.
Welcome
and
us,
Yeah, it was very nice.
It sounds to me, Mabel, that this trip in 2019 made a big impact, that it was transformative for Vanessa.
That's very correct. Yeah, she was really excited her first time. I wanted her to experience a different kind of life because children growing up here are kind of spoiled. I'm sorry to say.
That's real. No, that's real.
So she saw how children suffering. There were children that actually slept in the drains, right? In the ditches. They'll be on the streets begging. So I wanted her to see that other kind of life. And when you go back home,
even with
think about
healthcare.
this person. Yeah, there's no health care. This person is sick. They're begging on the streets. They're wearing torn clothes. It's just a different kind of life.
I don't know how to explain it, like in words. Like it was just very deep, and
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, thank you for listening to today's broadcast of Tracks from Abroad. Today we learned all about Zambia, and we had a whole cast of guests to do it. And we thank each and every one. We have Vanessa, Mabel, Brendan, and of course my dad, Duncan, joining from Vermont. Thank you to everybody.
Thanks for
Yes, sir.
having us.
Yeah.
Why you wanna block my soul? Why you wanna close my door? Why you wanna make it man slow?
Today you are listening to Tracks from Abroad. We visited Zambia with Vanessa, Mabel, and Brendan. Here is Yo Maps. Oh yeah.
They want me down, they want me suffer, they want me gone, but I'm a biggie man, brother. They wanna see me cry, don't know why. Anyway, mulungu sama gonna no lie. They want me down, they want me suffer, they want me gone, but I'm a biggie man, brother. They wanna see me cry, don't know why. Anyway, mulungu sama gonna no lie. Wasaniweza kumavuto, silifulo endamuyo, wasanipaira chiroto. They want me down, they want me suffer, they want me gone, but I'm a biggie man, brother. They wanna see me cry, don't know why. Anyway, mulungu sama gonna no lie. They want me down, they want me suffer, they want me gone, but I'm a biggie man, brother. They wanna see me cry, don't know why. Anyway, mulungu sama gonna no lie. Wasaniweza kumavuto, silifulo endamuyo, wasanipaira chiroto. Before you get to know me, I don't know why you hating on me. You wanna see me down, wanna see me lonely. Lonely. You better know. Sinye mwana wapa komo kulido. Osaye koma ko away yo, oh oh oh. Them always wanna see the boy under. Bama vuna nikala siwe na thunder. Bama bela mushengati ngona banja. They want me down, they want me suffer, they want me gone, but I'm a biggie man, brother. They wanna see me cry, don't know why. Anyway, mulungu sama gonna one boy. They want me down, they want me suffer, they want me gone, but I'm a biggie man, brother. They wanna see me cry, don't know why. Anyway, mulungu sama gonna no lie. Wasaniweza kumavuto, silifulo endamuyo, wasanipaira chiroto. They want me down, they want me suffer, they want me gone, but I'm a biggie man, brother. They wanna see me cry, don't know why. Anyway, mulungu sama gonna no lie. They want me down, they want me suffer, they want me gone, but I'm a biggie man, brother. They wanna see me cry, don't know why. Anyway, mulungu sama gonna no lie.
You are listening to Tracks from Abroad on CIUT 89.5 FM. My name is Jesse McDougall, and I want to give a big thank you to our Zambian guests on the show today. We had Mabel, Vanessa, and Brendan. Vanessa coming from the University of Toronto Scarborough African Students Association. What a fantastic interview we had. And if you want to send your comments, questions, or even music requests to our show, you can email us at tracksfromabroad@ciut.fm. And also, if you'd like to enter yourself to win 2 tickets and a free CD from Kuné, Canada's Global Orchestra. They are performing April 5th. You can head to our Instagram page, tfa.radio. In that very first post you'll see, you can enter yourself in the drawing. The next thing I wanted to play here is a very special song from 1963. It comes from the Hausa language. I learned that there from my friend Atong, who was on the Botswana episode. So I've been learning about this language, reading a book called Affluence Without Abundance by James Shoesman. I recommend it, and I just want to play this next clip, which is coming from Dust to Digital on Instagram. Tell me what you think about this.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The next song we are going to sing is a Xhosa wedding song. It comes from South Africa. Xhosa is my native language, and it's a wedding song back home where I come from. It's called by the English-speaking people the click song, because they cannot say uqongthwana. Igqirha lendlela ke nguqongthwane, igqirha lendlela kuthiwa nguqongthwane, igqirha lendlela yamama nguqongthwane, igqirha lendlela kuthiwa nguqongthwane. Hayiba aseleqabele gqithapho yamama nguqongthwane, aselequbule gqithapho nguqongthwane, aseleqabele gqithapho yamama nguqongthwane, aselequbule gqithapho nguqongthwane. Igqirha lendlela yamama nguqongthwane, igqirha lendlela kuthiwa nguqongthwane, igqirha lendlela yamama nguqongthwane, igqirha lendlela kuthiwa nguqongthwane. Hayibo aseleqabele gqithapho yamama nguqongthwane, aselequbule gqithapho nguqongthwane, aseleqabele gqithapho yamama nguqongthwane, aselequbule gqithapho nguqongthwane. Oh yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that track, and we love doing episodes on Africa here on Tracks from Abroad. Our next song is coming from the Okavango African Orchestra, located here in Toronto, and with some musicians also in Montreal. This band was put together by CIUT's Nadine McNulty, and so she suggested this song, and this is what's going to play out our episode. Thank you so much for listening today to Tracks from Abroad on CIUT 89.5 FM. Coming up next, you have Indigenous Waves, along with a fantastic evening of music, and I hope you enjoyed this show. Again, sign up for those 2 tickets on tfa.radio on Instagram. Those are to Kuné, Canada's Global Orchestra.
Yeah.
them all.